Weather Channel. Um, there's been planes flying over. I think they're trying to get like what's going on as far as the weather. But this is interesting what this guy's saying. Okay, I'm gonna play this video. It just came down my feed, and sometimes things that are meant to come down your feed are meant to come down your feed for a reason. And I believe this guy's channel is. So let's play this video.
Josh's severe weather. Happy Tuesday morning to you. I'm a meteorologist in the Raleigh area, and I have been a meteorologist for over 20 years, been on YouTube since December, and I am going to give you my analysis here of the future of now Hurricane Idalia, as well as talk a little bit more about Hurricane Franklin and also Typhoon Saola in the Western Pacific. But most of this video is going to talk about the
Okay. That's what I was just saying. There's a man out there in Atlantic, and there's a woman out here. She's heading for Florida. And then there is another one, and that's the typhoon. Okay. Now you gotta understand Florida is on water, surrounded by water. Okay. Now, when Ron DeSantos put out that emergency alert, I've never heard, and I'm 44 years old, you guys, okay? And I grew up in Florida and Pennsylvania. I've never heard him automatically say that the electric's going to go out, okay? I've never heard that man say that, okay? And then also, I found out that they're giving out sandbags here for free, 10 sandbags for each family in the state of Florida. Um, but there's a high homeless population here. So and then the people that if you they have different shelters you can go to for people with pets. I will screenshot all that information. It depends on what county. There's different counties that's on higher alert. Then there's shelters that people can go to that don't have nowhere to go. Now you gotta understand we have there's a high homeless population here, you guys. The highest I've ever seen it. Okay, Florida will be like California if it doesn't go underwater in the future. May I say? And I'm saying that yes, I am. But Florida will be like California. Okay, the housing markets in Florida already went up. They have one insurance company, you guys. You guys understand one insurance company for homeowners, renters, and the problem with that is people never got paid from the last hurricane. Okay, people have been waiting, and you can ask anybody this. Okay, and all the insurance companies left Florida. So there's one insurance company, and I can't think of the name of it. It starts with a C. Okay, that's the only insurance company, and it's not funny because people's homes that suffered damage the last hurricane, some of them, if they don't have a lawyer to get that money, to push the insurance company, because the insurance company had to buy its own insurance company. Okay, I never heard of that. Okay, just saying it's a state insurance company. They had to buy their own insurance. They had to take over and buy their own insurance. Okay, if this makes any sense to you guys. I just can't think of the name of it, but it will come to me. Okay. But all the other insurance companies left Florida. Okay, so people haven't got, like, say they had water damage or they needed their roof fixed. Some people had to hire a lawyer and they still haven't got that money. Okay, so just imagine they still haven't got that money. They have damage already to to their homes. Okay, and this is happening for everybody. It don't matter if you're rich. Well, rich, the rich people, they move differently. Okay, they get what they want. Okay, money talks and bullshit walks. I always say that. It's the root of all evil, though. But let's listen to what he got to say. So, like I said, there's three of them out there. Okay, so I find him very interesting, and he came down my feed, so I feel like it was meant for me to receive this message. So, all right, here you guys go.
Impacts to Florida and the Southeast here in the coming days. A very dangerous situation setting up with yet another storm traversing some very warm ocean waters off the coast of Florida. And those of you in Florida that have been through some major hurricanes lately, know that you can't take any hurricane lightly, but this one's got the chance of becoming yet another historic storm. There is a lot of uncertainty once we get on past tomorrow. I'm going to talk some about that, but I'm going to focus a lot of this on impacts here in the next couple of days here in the state of Florida in the southeast. And the official forecast does take Hurricane Idalia into the Big Bend area as a Category 3 storm. I personally think there's enough fuel in place for it to briefly become a Category 4. Regardless, it's going to be a powerful storm. Don't get obsessed with the
Okay, that's what I think. I think it's going to be a Category 4 too. I say that as a psychic, but he's a meteorologist. So
category so much as maybe the size of the storm, the speed that it's moving in, and how it looks on radar and on satellite. But we do have a storm that is building an inner core. It is now getting ready to move over some of the warmest waters in the tropics, and wind shear is relaxing. That is allowing the storm to grow in size and grow in strength. And I do believe once we get into late this morning, and especially this afternoon, tonight, and first thing tomorrow, we are going to see a period of rapid intensification, allowing our storm to grow and to develop some very strong winds inside the center. So right now, I am forecasting that it does touch Category 4, even if it stays a high 3.
yes, I say so. I say it's going to be a 4. Okay, there's no birds out here. Okay, something's about to happen. And this is what I predicted yesterday, that it will be a 4. This is why I believe Ron DeSantos said what he said, because I never heard a governor even say. Normally they say prepare for the power outage. He just said the power outage will be out. Like literally just said it. So they're telling us, okay? So I will play that video too.
That's not a terrible forecast in my opinion, but nonetheless, it is going to be a major hurricane when it moves up into the Big Bend tomorrow morning. After that, the storm is expected to bend to the right. It's going to bring some heavy rain and some strong winds up the Carolina coastline. And after that, there is weakening steering currents, which will allow the storm to stall and maybe even loop back towards the southeast. But that part is a lot more uncertain. I do think if that happens, there is a window for it to strengthen again next week after Labor Day, but not necessarily hitting again as a hurricane, but strengthening briefly over some warm loop current waters here, or not loop current, but Gulf Stream waters here east of Florida. But this is just my forecast, and I do expect this half of it to change more significantly than this portion as the level of certainty does continue to lessen at that point. Beyond Hurricane Idalia, we do have Hurricane Franklin, a very powerful storm, which will be passing northwest of Bermuda here later tomorrow and staying southeast of Canada Thursday and Friday, and then heading away. Not a threat to any major land masses. We do have a couple of areas of interest. 92L is something that's been off and on as a disturbance, but probably not any kind of threat to land. And then another system which has a better chance of becoming our next named storm, Jose, but again, no threat to land once it moves out past the Cape Verde. So we're not going to talk too much about those, but I will show them to you. But this is something very rare on the internet. Interesting ad. Something very rare to see two hurricanes so close to each other, so close to Florida. We've seen multiple hurricanes on the map before at the same time, but if Idalia becomes a major hurricane tonight and Franklin stays a major hurricane, it's going to be a very rare occurrence to see two major hurricanes in the same part of the basin at the same time. So we are kind of in
Yeah, this don't make sense. You got two hurricanes in the same basin, and they're at war with each other. This is very bizarre. I've never seen this. Okay, you got Jose over here, and you got Idaline, whatever, Idaline.
Precedented times here, unfortunately. Okay. The National Hurricane Center track takes the storm into the eastern Big Bend. I am going to show you models which show that
it looks like a face. I gotta screenshot this. It looks like somebody looking at the state of Florida. I can't, you guys, hold on. Let me get the glare. It looks like a face. This guy is good. Okay. It looks like a face looking at Florida. Like, I can't make this up. Okay. Look at it. Hold on. I have to screenshot this. Okay. All right, let me play it.
There's some trend back to the west a little bit more as more model data is coming in from flights that have been done over the storm, not just the storm itself, not just recon into the storm, but recon surrounding the storm, taking a look at the upper air environment to figure out where this system may eventually go. So if you're on the western side of this, close to Tallahassee, you very well could still have a direct hit. It does look like Tampa Bay area is going to avoid the direct hit from this storm. It's going to stay a little bit too far offshore. However, the strengthening and growing size of the storm tonight is going to bring some very rough surf and some very rough wind into the Tampa Bay area. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here. You can see the National Hurricane Center has a tropical storm Sunday, and you can see it starting that loop. A couple models earlier showed it looping south of Bermuda. Now they're showing that loop very close to where Franklin is now. The good news, I guess, if you want to call it good news, is that Franklin is such a big storm. It's a strong Category 4 hurricane that it's cooling off the water here. So the chance of this developing quickly in here is very low. But when it gets down into here, if it does, it certainly does have a better chance to try to make a comeback here. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse before talking about the horse, but that is something I'm going to be watching for you guys as well. Hurricane Franklin rapidly intensified this time yesterday, well above what any of the models showed, and it actually had a central pressure in the 920s, which is a high-end Category 4. That is actually a record low amount of central pressure, so record high intensity this far north in the Atlantic Basin. We have never seen a storm, at least since modern records have been kept since the 70s, that has gotten as deep and as low in pressure as this one so far to the north. Dorian, if you remember, down in here in 2019, around the same time of year, did get that deep. It actually went even deeper and was a major catastrophe for the Bahamas. But this system was actually about 400 miles northeast of that when it got that strong. So very unusual. But the good news, aside from some tropical storm conditions in Bermuda, it is going to be just eating up the shipping lanes of the North Atlantic, producing some rough surf here in Newfoundland as we get into Friday, but passing south and east of the Avalon Peninsula. Aside from that, here's the area that we're going to be watching, 92L, not a threat to land, and then our next wave coming off of Africa, we'll talk about here in just a little bit. This is the water vapor imagery. It takes a look at the moisture in the upper atmosphere, and you can see very clearly just a few storms on the map, but a couple of major ones. I'm not laughing. This is a serious situation. But, yeah, this is crazy times that we're in right now. This is Hurricane Idalia, Category 1 and growing. This is Category 4 Hurricane Franklin, which has met its peak. That is going to move off into this direction. Idalia is going to continue moving north today and then starting to bend to the right and then out to sea near the Carolinas. We have an upper level low right here in the central Atlantic, upper level low down here. And in between the two, a fighting tropical disturbance. And then south and east of these storms, a big region of high pressure in place here. And that is going to protect the central and eastern Caribbean from any activity. Also a pretty big high pressure ridge here over the western Gulf. So still very hot across Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And in between Hurricane Idalia and Hurricane Franklin, it's tough to see, but there is still a very tiny ridge of high pressure, a subtropical high that's kind of wedged into here. And the good news is that that is what's going to protect the southwestern part of Florida from seeing a direct hit. Not going to mean you're not going to have impacts if you're south of Tampa, but because that ridge is in place over here and kind of up into here, actually, this is kind of the shape of the ridge, it is going to kind of go around it. We're going to talk about this trough and the timing of it and how that's going to impact the future of Idalia. And then out west, we do have another trough in the northwest, but you see this huge area of high pressure. This is going to build back into the United States behind the trough. And when we get to about Labor Day weekend and beyond, we're going to see another heat wave over the interior of the West and then building east into the Great Lakes next week and then into the Northeast later next week because of this huge dome of high pressure. It never really went away. It just kind of reshaped itself. And unfortunately, that is going to be something that we have to watch when we're talking about the future of these tropical systems. A ridge of high pressure is going to block things, and we don't want to see blocking. We want storms to move away quickly as fast as they can. Unfortunately, the block could be setting up here in the next couple of weeks. Tropical Storm Irwin in the Pacific moving away, and that should weaken as it reaches some drier, cooler, more stable air in the Pacific. So we're not going to talk about that one here. Closer to home here, you can see Idalia growing in intensity and strength, now a hurricane Category 1. The biggest thing that you can see on this map here, actually a couple big items of importance here. that the storm is starting to finally grow on the northern and western side. It's still got a little bit of wind shear to deal with here, a little bit of dry air coming in from the west, but that has lessened some versus this time yesterday. That wind shear is lessening, and even a small amount of wind shear is not going to keep a storm like this from strengthening over very warm water. In fact, it's going to do very little here in the next 24 hours. We are going to see the warm water winning this battle across over the wind shear, and as a result, we're going to see the size grow, especially on the eastern and southeastern side here. So we're going to see a bigger storm by this time tomorrow with a bigger impact showing up across Florida, bigger envelope. And behind it, you can see there's a bit of southerly wind shear, which is actually going to favor this system because the wind shear is actually going to line up with the forward motion here. And if anything, that's just going to lead to a bigger ribbon of moisture behind it. So South Florida, you are going to see additional rain on the backside of the system tomorrow and into Thursday as well as the system grows. Now, there's enough spacing here between Idalia and Franklin so that the two storms are not going to interact with each other. This one's actually going to get lifted out by a trough, and it's going to accelerate. This one, because there's a ridge of high pressure in between the two, is going to keep enough of a distance away so that the two storms are not really going to impact each other, which is not the news, of course, we want to hear. We want to see them fighting with each other and beating each other up, but unfortunately, that doesn't look to be the case. We've got something else going on here, not related to the tropics, but unfortunately, a big story for those of us here in the mid-Atlantic states and into the interior of the southeast. We have a frontal boundary that's pretty much stalled and a lot of deep tropical moisture. It's very humid here in this region, and some significant rain popping up here well ahead of the system along this boundary. We could have some flash flooding across North Georgia this morning, the Western Carolinas into Virginia again. This boundary needs to be watched, probably not for severe weather, but for very slow-moving storms with a lot of significant rain. Until this trough here in the Northeast gives it enough of a kick, it is going to produce some widespread heavy amounts of rain and some flash flooding in the mountain areas. So we have definitely that to be watching here, which has nothing really to do with the hurricanes, but the hurricanes are unfortunately keeping that front stalled as it continues to just kind of sit and drench parts of the mid-Atlantic. Farther out in the East Atlantic, a couple of waves we're keeping an eye on. One of these could become Jose, but they are not going to be a threat to the United States. All right, so why are things expected to strengthen so quickly? Well, this is why. Water temperatures in the Eastern Gulf are running 30 to 32 degrees Celsius, which is between 86 and 90 Fahrenheit. This is above the average by 1 to 3 degrees Celsius, so about 2 to 4 degrees, maybe 5 degrees Fahrenheit above average. Unfortunately, the end of August, beginning of September is the time of the year when the Gulf of Mexico waters typically peak in warmth, and we are already running a couple degrees above that. So take your average season where storms already can rapidly intensify, then tack on a couple degrees, and there is additional storm fuel in place. And that is also the case here in the southwestern Atlantic. That is why Franklin strengthened so quickly yesterday. Franklin went from basically a Category 2 here on Sunday to a high-end Category 4 yesterday. So rapid intensification across this region right here where Franklin crossed. Well, guess what? This area over here has got water that's not even this warm, but warmer by a degree or two. The only difference, I think, this time is that at the end of the storm's track over the water, we are going to see some wind shear kicking in. But at that point, the storm will have already grown, in my opinion. So I'm going to show you what this has to do with intensity forecasts and what we've seen, the trends that are kind of disturbing to me just a little bit here. This is from the University of Miami Oceanic Heat Content. The surface waters are important, but seeing how deep that warm water is equally important to making an intensity forecast. And you can see that Idalia is going to move right over this very deep area of high ocean heat content. It already was over it somewhat here before it went over the tip of Cuba last night, but very, very large amount of fuel source in place here for this storm to strengthen. You can see now that storm is growing. This is Idalia. You can see this is a loop back. You can see it fired up some pretty cold thunderstorm tops, and then those fizzled a little bit and then re-flared up here last night. Now the storm is moving over and just past the western tip of Cuba. I'm going to show you the radar, and you'll be able to see that there is a core that is developing inside of it. And you can see just the last couple of frames here where the system is beginning to generate some very cold thunderstorm tops here, and we're going to start to see this grow on the western side here. If you take a look at the Cuba radar, you can see there is now an eye on the radar. That's typically a sign that The center of the storm is starting to warm up. We're starting to see some growth in the storm, and we are seeing more of a core forming here. So it's taken a little bit more time than maybe you might have expected. That was due to the wind shear from the north yesterday, but it is happening now. And as the storm continues to grow this healthy core here, you can see this is the central part of the system. Here is that core that is starting to wrap around on the northwest side. As it does that later this morning, the storm will then have the framework for a healthy storm that can grow very quickly. And I think that is going to happen by the time it gets up into here later in the day today. We're going to see a very quick drop in surface pressure. As a result, the surface winds are going to increase. And while we have a minimal Category 1 storm now, it should be a Category 2 later today. And I think tonight has the opportunity to go quickly through Category 3, possibly up to Category 4, before a little bit of weakening right at landfall. The National Hurricane Center has that landfall tomorrow morning on the Big Bend here. I think we're going to see a bit of a shift just to the west here a little bit more, maybe even getting over 85 west here or staying at 85 west a little longer before coming up in this direction. But don't focus on the exact track because this is a large and growing storm. That's why we have hurricane warnings all the way back here to Apalachicola.
Okay, I feel like this is what I'm seeing. It's a psychic. You can follow him, Josh Severe Weather. Okay, he's very good. He's very thorough. He's better than these people in the news. Okay, it's just saying. So you see how he's saying it's going to come through here. This would be like going up to Jacksonville, Tallahassee. I see it coming more on the southern side. The water, the surges. So I see it coming all the way, not to Miami, but a little bit above Miami. Some of these counties here. Okay, that's what I'm seeing. So I'm actually seeing it go lower than what they actually are showing it. Okay, that's what I'm seeing psychically. All right. People have been texting me all morning. Okay. So this is Florida. I'm gonna show you guys. Okay. So they're saying it's gonna come. It came from here, out here. Okay. Normally, a lot of hurricanes come from Africa. Okay. But this hurricane didn't come from Africa. Okay. So I'll talk about that. All right. So let's stay on this. So I see it coming down more. Okay. And this storm can turn, you guys. You guys understand? Storms can turn at any moment. Okay. But this storm, something doesn't sit well with me, and it hasn't sat well with me. But I'll get into that when I do that video around the Santos. Sometimes you gotta listen, because when you listen, you find out a lot of information, and you don't speak, and you just listen. And that's what I found out by listening to the governor Ron DeSantis. Okay.
All the way down through the Tampa Bay area, down to Longboat Key, I believe, and then tropical storm warnings all the way down the southwest coast of Florida until we get into Monroe County. And we still have hurricane warnings for western Cuba, although I think most of that hurricane force wind stays just off the coast here in the next few hours and then begins to relax. Farther up the east coast of Florida, we could see tropical storm conditions. As this storm grows in width, we could see tropical storm winds across much of the
Yeah, I see it too going some counties of Georgia, some counties of North Carolina. It's interesting the route it's taking, okay? But I do see it going to North Carolina, through Georgia. But I see it turning, okay? I see it turning. Now, he says he sees it going this way and then looping back around. Now, if that happens, that's the first time this will ever happen on record, okay? But let's listen to what he says. He's a meteorologist. He went to school for this, but I'm just telling you my psychic. And I can see why he's saying it could turn, because if you look at the eye of the hurricane, right? The front of the hurricane is going back to the water. The water is warm, so it could easily turn, okay? And I can see that, okay? This is why I said this guy is really good, you guys. Okay, his name is Josh Severe Weather.
Coast, the Space Coast, and the First Coast, and getting into Georgia as well. Tropical storm watches further up the coast, right through the low country of South Carolina. I think these are going to be eventually extended northward perhaps all the way up through the Outer Banks here, as we are looking at potentially a tropical storm coming off the coast here. It'll be a much weaker storm, but one that is going to slow down and sit over some warm water. So in the Outer Banks, we could have some problems here as well later on Thursday into Friday. Here's the area of potential hurricane force wind. You can see there is a slight chance that could even still get to that wind speed near Jacksonville and all the way up into Berkeley County and Georgetown County in South Carolina. Just a small chance of hurricane conditions, a greater chance of strong tropical storm force winds. In fact, Charleston Harbor, that area, Beaufort County, Hilton Head, could see wind gusts over 60 miles per hour out of this storm, and a larger area, potentially tropical storm force winds, even all the way back to the western panhandle, southeastern Alabama. We could briefly have tropical storm force winds, a very high chance of that over southeast Georgia, over the low country of South Carolina, and somewhat of a chance here across the entire North Carolina coast, especially south of Hatteras. So we are going to see a lot of areas getting impacted by the storm. Let's talk about the possible track. And you can see it is starting to shift back to the west, more into the Big Bend. I still think Taylor County is probably going to see the eye wall come through it, but we see a bit of an enhanced risk to Jefferson County, to Wakulla County, and even back to Apalachicola. Here's the county map here. Even Franklin County could get hit directly, although I think probably it favors this area here. Wakulla County, Leon County, Jefferson, Taylor, Madison, maybe Dixie and Lafayette counties in Florida all have the risk of seeing powerful winds out of this storm. And this is a very vulnerable part of the Florida coastline because it's concave. Water can come up in here and pile up more than it can in other parts of the Florida coast because of the fact that the coast bends away. So we are going to see some significant storm surge out of this. Again, this is going to come out here probably on Thursday afternoon or Thursday night, somewhere near Southport and Bald Head Island. After that, we are seeing a slowing of forward motion. We're going to see more time here over the Western Atlantic. Fortunately, the waters are cooler than they were before Franklin came through. Unfortunately, though, weak steering currents are going to lead to a very uncertain forecast. The GFS has been leading the charge on this, taking a clockwise loop back towards perhaps the coast of Florida or somewhere in here. It's showing that run after run after run here since this time yesterday. The other models are starting to kind of trend in that direction, and there's still an equal chance that this could continue to pull away and follow the other system, Franklin, here over the North Atlantic. Here's the intensity forecast. Most of our models show at least a Category 2 here by tonight. Several show it rapidly intensifying up to Category 3. I'm predicting a low-end Category 4. Why am I doing this? Because these models have very low skill in picking up on rapid intensification. No storm was strong enough with Ida. No storm was strong enough with Michael. No model was strong enough with Ian. All of them underperformed when it came to intensification. And the reason why is when you get that wind shear down below 10, 15 knots, you go over warm waters. The models do their best, but they just can't quite get to that rate of intensification. We saw that yesterday with Franklin. None of the forecast models had it getting as strong as it did in just 12 hours, but it was 20 knots higher than the nearest model. Could that happen with Idalia? I think it's certainly possible, but I'm not going too high. I'm not going Category 5, but I do think it could get to Category 4. Even if it's a high-end Category 3, it's still going to be a huge problem for Florida. So don't get obsessed over that category. Just know that the storm is going to grow. It's going to intensify quickly. What it looks like now is going to be nothing compared to what it looks like tomorrow. We have a big flood risk as the storm begins to slow down here in the Carolinas. We also have a flood risk with our stalled front over the mid-Atlantic region in the central Appalachians and the southern Appalachians, East Tennessee, West Virginia, and even the Tidewater of Virginia, including Raleigh, do have a risk for some flash flooding. And some of that will happen today in the mountains. Some of that will happen tonight near the Big Bend, and then most of it happens tomorrow along the coastal plain, ending on Friday morning. We have a storm surge forecast that continues to climb 8 to 12 feet over the eastern Big Bend and the Nature Coast. 12 feet of storm surge would be halfway up to your second floor if you're on the coast. So you should have already evacuated at this point if you're anywhere in this red zone. 6 to 9 feet over the Citrus Coast. You get to the Tampa Bay, it's not low. 4 to 7 feet is.
Okay, if you're anywhere by the body of water, I'm talking about like right here. This would be Sarasota. What's the other beach there? There's other beaches here. There's a whole bunch of beaches on this coastline. I would have already left. I would have been out of Florida, may I say, okay? Um, or I would have moved inland, okay? These are some of St. Pete, Clearwater Beach. There's another beach here. I just can't remember the name of it offhand. I know Longboat Keys here, Anna Marie Island's here. Um, is it Venice Beach? Okay, Venice Beach is down farther, but there's another beach here in between. These are coastal communities where people live like off of the beach, they can walk from the beach to their home. I would have already evacuated. And it's interesting that they should have had all these zones red. Okay, all this coastline should have been red. Okay, not just this area, the whole coastline should have been red. The reason why I say that is because this one it don't sit right with me, you guys. Okay, um, for some reason it just doesn't sit right with me. So I feel like all this coastal should be in red. Okay, and I hope people um, are watching my channel or really listening. You know, anything of we're not supposed to panic, okay? But we have to be smart out here. We have to like know. And a lot of us that have been in Florida, we have been through this. It's not the first time. It won't be the last time, okay? Um, the only thing about these hurricanes is people's houses have been. You guys are gonna understand. People's houses and structures, they haven't got the money to fix their houses from the last insurance claims that they have. There's insurance claims out there. If you look in the state of Florida and see how many insurance claims are out here, you guys won't even believe it. Okay, all the insurance companies left Florida, and we had one insurance company that is a state insurance company, and they had to buy their own self out. Okay, I've never heard of it, never seen of it, but it happened in the state of Florida. Okay, but this whole coastal line should have been red, even up here in the Panhandle. Okay, that's what I'm getting, and I'm getting is going to be a Category 4. That is also what I'm getting. Okay, this is what he's getting, and that's what I'm getting. Okay.
Storm surge is enough to go over somebody's head, and that water can.
And then he's saying that it's going to be 12 inches, which is interesting because the house that I'm in is one floor, but there's another house around the corner that actually has two floors. So if we have to leave, and my car will be in the garage, if we have to leave, there is a truck here, and the thing is, you don't want to be moving around while a storm is happening. Okay. Um, oh, sorry, guys. Hold on. You don't want to be moving around when a storm is coming, okay? Our gas tanks are full. We have a generator. We have to be careful with the generator because the water, okay? You can't put a generator on top of water. It's going to blow up, okay? So people know, okay? But I know, like, if the surge does happen to come, I know that we can go somewhere else and get on the second floor, okay? Um, and I hope people hold all down this coastline is it has evacuated. If I was near the beach, I would know. I mean, common sense would tell you to go. Okay, you gotta understand too. People financially is struggling, and I want to talk about that in the next video when I play Ron Santos. But let's just stay on this, okay? So this guy, you guys can go to his channel. I mean, I like his content. He's real. He just came down my feed, you guys. Okay. Um, here you go.
And that water can surge right into the inner bays here, into the back bay as well. Places like Oldsmar. I know Mike's weather page has been talking about that a lot. He lives in Oldsmar. Definitely at risk at seeing storm surge flooding, and even flooding down into Charlotte Harbor and in the same places that are still slowly rebuilding from Hurricane Ian. Unfortunately, some of you will be back underwater again. Although,
yeah, and the thing about Ian is people haven't got the insurance money, so their houses, they haven't had the money to get their houses fixed. Okay, Ron Santos, where is these people's insurance money? Okay, just saying. So they haven't got their insurance money, and all the insurance companies, you guys, we gotta think of this like this. This is why a lot of people too are leaving Florida, and then some people are coming to Florida. There's a lot of insurance claims out here. Okay, a lot, and they haven't been able to get their houses fixed. So they still have the damage from Ian, and now we have the other one coming. Okay.
not to the intensity that your neighbors to the north will be. And then on the east side here, we do have storm surge, which will likely hit the southeast coast here once we get into later tomorrow night and into Thursday. 2 to 4 feet could cause some flooding. Some of those houses on Hilton Head Island and Data Island, St. Helena Island, any of the other islands, Fripp Island, all could see some storm surge flooding out of this system, a very dangerous system. Let's look at the intensity real quick, and you will see we are going to continue to see a growing storm, a little bit of struggle on the western side, but it is going to fill in here at 21Z, which is 4 Central, 5 Eastern. You can see the wind field continues to grow and could do so very quickly. I think we see our quickest intensification between 5 o'clock tonight and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, as this continues to go over the warmest waters of the Gulf, and wind shear continues to relax until we get to tomorrow morning. And you can see here, we're looking at predictions of 125 to 130 or 135 mile per hour wind. The HAFS takes this system right up into the very high end of the Big Bend. So basically,
Okay, I don't know what just happened.
FlexJobs is the #1 job site to find remote, work from home, and flexible schedule job opportunities.
right here at Jefferson and Taylor counties is where those strongest winds are expected. And then the storm will be weakening quickly, but still a core that will hold together east of Tallahassee into south central parts of Georgia, and then southeastern Georgia. And then as the system pulls away here, we could see gusty winds up the east coast all the way into the Outer Banks on Thursday morning. And as the storm pulls away, we could see some intense winds on the backside in the Outer Banks. The HAFS-A model is showing wind gusts close to hurricane force. The B shows 45. I would take the average of the two and say 60 mile per hour wind gusts are possible across the Outer Banks from Cape Lookout to Cape Hatteras, and from 35 to 50 miles per hour from Cape Hatteras up to Duck and up to Kitty Hawk in those areas. And then as the storm moves away, it slows down, and we are left with a very challenging forecast once we get to this weekend. It will not be dead. It's going to be back over water for several more days, so we have to keep an eye on that. Here are the maximum wind gusts on the European. The European is not strong enough with the storm, but it does show where the highest winds go, right into Taylor County, and wind gusts to hurricane force here on the eastern part of the Big Bend and in the Nature Coast. Even gusts to 60 miles per hour in Pinellas County and 50 in Pasco County, and potentially higher if this storm gets stronger than the Euro shows, and I think that will be the case. And then you can see a second area of strong winds over coastal Georgia, northeastern Florida. We could even see gusts over 55 miles per hour in St. Augustine, and that will cause some damage. Farther off to the north and east, we can see strong winds over the eastern half of the Carolinas, and the European showing 75 mile per hour wind gusts possible on Cape Hatteras. Ocracoke, 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. This could be damaging as well to the Outer Banks as the storm begins to intensify as it goes into the Gulf Stream and brings back those strong winds on the backside of this storm. So while we get the heavy rain on the front side, we could get the strong wind and the heavy rain on the backside here, with the time frame for that being Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, early Friday morning. Here's a look at what the HRRR shows as far as the predicted radar. And you can see we are going to have a few rain bands moving up into western Florida here later today, and a few showers and storms over the peninsula. But the storm is far enough off the coast on the HRRR model, and this could be a little too far west, by the way. I think it's going to end up being over here. But we see those bands of rain moving in here tonight, especially after midnight. And then the worst of the rain is going to be tomorrow morning across all of the eastern panhandle and the Big Bend. We'll see bands of showers and storms moving into southwest Florida. Some of these could produce brief tornadoes with them. And then we're very quickly going to see that heavy rain moving up into Georgia tomorrow morning into the Carolinas. And we could see a few tornadoes in the low country of South Carolina and Georgia here, and northeastern Florida here during the afternoon tomorrow. The NAM model is farther east, and that's the model, I guess that's kind of what I'm preferring at this point. You see it actually turns right into the concave part of the coast, hitting right at a 90-degree angle, the very worst possible situation you could have in this part of the world. And the strongest wind and rain are going to shift around to the western side of the eye here tomorrow afternoon. This is 2 to 4 p.m. And then continuing into South Carolina, I'm going to move my map over. And then you can see lots of tropical downpours right behind the center here on Thursday. We're going to see more heavy rain and gusty winds moving into southwestern Florida. Not so much the wind, but the rain. Total precipitation forecast here across this area. This is a blend of all the models. Through Labor Day weekend, we're seeing the likelihood of 8 to 12 inches of rain somewhere here in the central and eastern panhandle, and 5 to 6 inches of rain in parts of Georgia, maybe up to 8 inches somewhere in here as well. Even the southern peninsula could see a few inches of rain. Hopefully with less wind, that's going to be welcome for those of you that need that rain. But it is going to be a lot of rain coming in just a short amount of time. Farther up, you see the heavy rainfall today and tonight over northern Georgia, western North Carolina, and then you see the main action here coming up through the Piedmont and the coastal plains of the Carolinas, with amounts likely to get up to 2 to 4 inches, locally higher amounts here in the low country, maybe 6 to 8 inches. Now, the future of the storm, this is where things get kind of muddy here. This is Franklin right here getting picked up by this trough right here. Then here comes Idalia here tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night. This trough is going to be moving very quickly, and in its wake, you see this high pressure region building in. What's going to happen is Idalia is now projected to miss this trough, but there is a piece of the trough that will be splitting back into the western Atlantic. At the same time, high pressure builds in here on Friday and Saturday, so it's going to warm up very quickly here in eastern Canada and the Great Lakes. What happens here is, unfortunately, the storm doesn't just get picked up like Franklin does by this trough, because what's happening is we've got this high pressure ridge building back in, and underneath it, a little bit of a weakness left over. Where that weakness ends up going is going to be critical in the future of our storm. The GFS shows it down in here. The Euro shows it up in here. Either way, as this ridge builds east, we are now going to have a block in place where the storm can no longer move in this direction. What will happen is it's going to get stuck somewhere in here between North Carolina and Bermuda. The GFS takes it and loops it back in this direction. The Euro slows it in this direction. Other models are trending in this direction as well. Either way, while the waters aren't as warm as they were before Franklin, they are warm. And if the wind shear relaxes and this ridge builds in, we could see another period of intensification in here. But it is way too soon to make any call on that right now.
Hey, beautiful. Yes, I seen the face. I actually seen a woman's face. Okay. Yes, I seen it peeking through. You have someone's face through. Did you see it? Yes. That face is actually the storm. Maria, the face is the storm. That's why I said I got to go back and screenshot it, because you can't make it up. But honestly, I feel like this storm, they say it's going to the panhandle. I believe it's going west. Okay. And I believe it's a category 4. It's going more to the west coast. The whole coastal line is going to get hit. Okay. Yeah, I did see there's a face. I'm going to show you. I'm going to go back. This guy, I like his channel. You guys need to check out his channel, honestly. Josh Severe Weather. I mean, he's better than the other meteorologists that I'm seeing. Okay. They need to hire him. He's very good. He's a meteorologist from North Carolina. Yeah, I seen the face peeking out. And all those vibrational colors, they reveal. Yes, they do reveal themselves. All the colors. Yes. Yes, indeed. I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you what I was seeing. And you got to understand, it's a full moon. Okay, so when that moon hits that water, okay. Yes, very vibrant colors. There's a lot going on. And normally when we have storms here, I don't really worry. But this storm, for some reason, is bothering me. I'm going to show you... Maria, I want to show you. It looks like a woman, okay, and it's named after a woman. This was so interesting. Let me show you. I'm gonna go back and
some
show you.
Warm loop current waters here, or not loop current, but Gulf Stream.
Fast forward it. It looks like a woman. Hold on. Now there's 2 of them. There's Jose. He's
on the. We are going to see the warm water winning this.
It looks like a woman. Look at this. Hold on. It looks like somebody's sitting right there. Yeah. Can you see that? I know, it's incredible. That's why I was like, when I seen it, it came down my feed. I know nothing about this man's channel, okay? But you should go check this man out. I mean, the imaging that he's captured is unreal. It looks like somebody's sitting in that body of water. I just screenshot it. Okay, you screenshot it. Good. It looks like somebody's sitting in the body of water, right? And then it looks like on the other side, it looks like that's the man Jose, okay? But Jose kind of looks like a child. This is very interesting because I was like, this looks like a woman sitting in the damn ocean, okay? A woman. Yes, I'm gonna screenshot it too. It looks like a damn woman sitting in the ocean. See, our minds, Maria, our minds. We have incredible minds. Yes, Josh, he's excellent. I just found his channel. I woke up around 5, you guys, and I was like, okay, is there anything else I need to do? You know, like preparing. I'm worrying about the surge because I'm not really worrying. You know, I don't like to worry. You know, in this life, one thing I learned is you can't really worry. It's because everything is, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Okay. Um, but if you look at this, it looks like a child. That would be Jose on the right, or some kind of thing with 2 eyes and a mouth, right? And then this looks like a woman, like she's defeated. Okay, look at this. Or she's just sitting there. Hey, Helen, how are you doing? So this storm looks like a woman. Look at it. I'm gonna also screenshot this. I couldn't believe it when I seen it. That's why I had to share his page, and he's very knowledgeable. I mean, he's better knowledge than these newscasters that are out here. But I went outside, Maria, and I didn't see no birds. Okay, and this was very telling because you know you have to pay attention to animals. Okay, but if you look on the right, that's supposed to be Jose. Okay, to me it looks like a baby. Okay, and if they collide, hey Helen, so if they collide, okay, looks like a child and a mother, a spirit of a child and a spirit of a mother. Okay, I was saying in the earlier video, Jose would sound like a man and a woman going for battle, but I don't feel that. If you look at Jose, he looks like a little child. I wish I could pull this down, but I don't know if I can pull it down. But you need to screenshot this. It looks like a woman sitting on the ground. Okay, and then she gets up and she faces straight to Florida. Now, did you know Gardis was born a male? No, I didn't know that. Did not know that. Thank you, Helen. Did not know that. Did not know that. I'm telling you guys, I learn something new every day. Especially when you listen to people, you learn. Oh, I didn't know that. That goes back to John Wayne. Casey. No, I did not know that. I don't know. This looks like a woman. It could be a man. I don't know. Okay, and where they get these names of these hurricanes, I don't know. Okay. But this looks like a woman sitting on the bed of water. Really incredible to see her sitting. Yeah, it is incredible to see her sitting there. And you tell people this, they think you're freaking crazy out here. Okay. Really incredible to see her sitting as if she's comfortable. Yeah, she's just comfortable. She's hanging out. It's like she's ready. She's hanging out, but then on the other picture, it's like she's saying, "Okay, now it's time for me to get up." Like I can't make this up, and it's not funny, but it looks like she's like, It's time for me to get up." Okay, the hairs live very close to him. Grown up. Wow, I did not know that. But yeah, it looks like somebody's just sitting in the body of water. Look at that. I cannot. And then over here, that's supposed to be the baby. Okay, I said it was a man. They're calling it Jose, but it looks like a baby. Like, you know, a baby, a fetus, a child. Okay, that's what I'm picking up. with these closer images. Jody sued her father in RS. He name is. Oh, I didn't know this, Helen. But I will look at this up. But it's interesting because you see this woman sitting on the a woman. This looks like a woman to me. I'm feeling the energy of feminine energy. And then on the other side, I'm feeling like a child. I was feeling a man, but to see this up close, it looks like more of a child. And she's sitting there, and then watch how she gets up. I can't. Okay, she gets up. Now it could be a bald head man, okay? But I'm feeling feminine energy here. And then she or he gets up, and look how they turn. Look at this. I can't. The images he got was like the best images I've ever seen. Yeah, I see a baby. The baby's here. Yeah, that looks like a baby. Don't it look like a baby? I need to screenshot these pictures and I will put them up, and maybe you guys can zoom in more, and you can also go on his channel, Josh Severe Weather. He's good. I mean, the pictures he captures is unreal. But this looks like a baby, and this would be the hurricane that's on the Atlantic side. Okay, and then this one looks like a woman. Okay, and she gets up. Let's go more. Here they go. So it's like she was sitting there, she was waiting, and you can even see the face. Like, I can't. Hold on. Look at that. And you tell me that don't look like no damn woman. Okay. And you can tell like she was calm, waiting. Yeah, I do see the baby. The baby's over here. And then all of a sudden she turns and she looks to Florida, and she moves to Florida. But I feel this is a feminine energy. Yamea. It's an African thing we say Yamea. I'm saying it wrong. Yamea. Mia. That statue I have, you guys. Okay, I will go over and check that out. I will definitely go check that out. Yamea. I always say Yamea. I'm saying her name wrong. But in African culture, she is she's the woman of water. She represents water, the body of water, the color blue. Um, she also represents fertility. Okay, anything that comes with water, she protects water. Okay, it's the spirit of water itself. That's her. Remember the statue, Maria, that I had up? That is her. Okay, that is her. I have her statue. I will put that up later. But that's what she represents, water. Okay, look at that. That looks like hair coming down, and then that looks like a baby over here. Okay, um, but we'll see what happens, you guys. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go, and I will check out this channel, this network, and I'm sending you guys love and light. And I will try to screenshot these photos and put them up. Um, I mean, he captured it. He captured it beautifully. I've never seen nothing like this. It looks like a woman. Let me zoom in. And then it looks like a baby here. Okay. What a beautiful sight. Okay. I don't know why she's angry, but she gets angry and gets up and she looks towards Florida. Okay. And then there's a baby here. Okay. All right, you guys. All right. I'll be back on later. Love and light. Love and light. Everybody stay safe. Okay. Love and light, my beautiful souls. But I will take these pictures and screenshot them because I've never seen nothing like this. All right. All right. I will let you know, Helen, what I think of WCIA. All right. I will let you know. I definitely will. All right. Love and light. Love and light. I will screenshot these. And Maria, if you can lighten these up, so everybody can see what we're seeing. Okay. All right. All right, Helen. All right, Maria. Love and light. Love and light, you guys. Bye.
western side. It's still got